Hello, welcome to tonight's episode of Conversations from Backstage. I'm Chad McDonald, Cultural Arts Superintendent for the City of Cookeville. We hope you enjoy what you see and look forward to providing this content on a regular basis. Please subscribe to our channel and leave ideas for future episodes in the comments below. Enjoy the show!
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for episode 4 of Conversations from Backstage. Tonight we will be joined by Maggie Harris. She is a makeup and wig artist here in Tennessee. She lives in Baxter, I believe. She started here as a kid doing some backstage work for us. So we're just going to talk to her about how she got started here and where she's gone on from there. Hi, Maggie. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So, as I said in your intro, you started in theater here at CPAC. Why don't you tell us a little bit how you started doing things here?
I started in 1993, and the first show I worked on was Wizard of Oz with Bruce and Alma Anderson. And I just started as a stagehand backstage. And the reason that my mom got me into the theater was because I had seen Kevin Aucoin on an episode of Oprah, actually, and knew that I wanted to be a hair and makeup artist. So she got me into the local theater, and that kind of became my family. And Chad and Steve and Charles Long and the Gilpatricks, and they just kind of all took me under their wing, and that's how I got started.
Oh, that's really cool. So, how long did you do that here? Did you do it for a few years, or
I did it all the way through my senior year, and then I had went to Baxter schools instead of Cookeville, and so I was the only kid Baxter. So my mom would have to bring me because we didn't have a shuttle service, and we had the new school, New Upperman. I was the first class in that school, and we actually did Of Mice and Men. That was the first show that we did, and I think Charles Long and Chad and Steve Wilt were all part of that, and we did that one.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. And you worked on that with them?
I did. I was the stage manager for that.
Okay.
And I think we had done it 3 times, and I think I assisted stage managed, and then I stage managed twice, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. So you got started here doing, stage managing, makeup, I'm guessing some, and stuff like that. So how did you, right now you work in theater as a makeup and hair artist and wig artist. So how did you get started in that, and where has that taken you?
I started in high school with my cosmetology license, and right after high school I finished out my hours, and then I went to a makeup school in Toronto, Canada. It's called Complexions International, and there I learned how to do like the special effects and film and TV, things like that. And afterwards, my sister actually just started sending out my resume. There used to be a website called BackstageJobs.com.
Okay.
And we just searched through all of that and just started sending my resume out. And at that time, I had no idea about wigs. I had done a couple of wigs, like put them on, but I didn't know how to make them. And Utah Festival Opera was the first place to hire me, and they actually taught me how to make wigs there. And so I spent most of my summers there. I think I did 4 seasons with them. And then I did a fall season with the Utah Shakes. And I've just freelanced and traveled all over the U.S. doing, I actually ended up staying in opera. I fell in love with that. And opera is actually the only real theater where you can do makeup and hair, because in straight theater, most of the time people do their own makeup.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't realize that. Utah Shakes is pretty famous around the country, so that's a pretty interesting place to get started with. The first people to hire you were Utah Opera, and then you worked for Shakes. So that's really cool. Very cool. And what was your favorite? What was your favorite Shakespeare to work on there with Utah Shakespeare?
I liked Merry Widows. I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah.
I loved the whole atmosphere there. It was a really cool experience, because they have scones and, people out in the audience that are performing. And it was just a whole different level
That's pretty cool.
than I've really ever seen anywhere else.
Yeah, I like Merry Wives as well. When we did that one here, that was a pretty cool show. So from what I know, you were going to demonstrate something for us real quick. Is you going to demonstrate something with Wigs today? Is that correct?
I will.
Okay, great. All right. So what are you going to show us?
So this is a canvas head, and so this is what we usually style wigs on. I also build on one, and the one that I build on already has like a hairline.
Oh, cool.
and a mustache, because I build facial hair too.
All right.
But those they have sawdust in them, and then they have the canvas over them, of course. And it just makes it easier so we can put straight pins in and they won't move, and we keep it on a stand. So when we're putting a wig on a person, we always have them do pin curls, and that's like basically having anchor points for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I typically do all of my anchor points the same, so that I know that when I'm going quickly and taking them off or putting them on, or if somebody else, like say you were to come and say, hey, can you take this wig off, you'll know where my pins are and not destroy the style of the wig. And so I have a pin curl in the front, 2 on each side, and then 2 over the ear, or 1 over each ear. And that is basically just taking your hair and wrapping it around 2 fingers. Right. And the goal is to make it as flat as possible. And then once we do that, I do a bobby pin crisscrossing like an X. Some people do it like an equal sign to prevent breakage in the hair. I don't think that it holds as well, so a lot of things are just preference. But then we would do a wig cap, and I prefer the mesh kind. Some people don't like those. They think a lot of the pins come through. And it's annoying, so other people prefer a stocking. A stocking is the most common, and so after typically it's females with the long hair, and you do pin curls. Of course, some males have the longer hair, and we do pin curls most of the time. But with the males, I usually do ace bandage around the hairline.
Okay.
And then I take toupee clips, which are just these little clips like this. They're like pop clips with combs. I also use these when I'm not wearing wigs. I place a rubber band through the 2 holes, and then I can clip that through the hair so that they can hold the mic without damaging the cords.
Oh, cool.
And so once I clip the toupee clips, either the ace bandage or the wig cap onto the hair, that just holds it in place. So we place a cap on here, and you want it to be back off of the hairline just a little bit.
Okay.
And then you take these and pull it back, and I'll pin it. And then once I'm ready to put that on, this is a wig that is what they call a lace front. So it's a prefabricated wig that I have taken a lace and sewn onto it, and then stitched in individual hairs so that it looks more natural. So when you place it on, there are here. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
That you hold on to those, and those are going to go right above where the ears would land.
Okay.
So you take that, you make sure that your lace isn't laying underneath. And I always pull it forward about where the eyebrows would be, and then I hold the top and I pull the back down so that it goes over the back of the neck.
Okay.
And then once you get that on, then you can pull it back so that it lays very nicely, and you keep your balance between here so that you know it's going to land. And then once we get it on, we take pins that look like this. They're like huge. They're called wig pins. And I have smaller ones too that depending on, how heavy of the wig. And you just kind of go in at an angle forward and then back right where those angles, those anchor points of those pin curls are.
Okay.
And once you put that in, I usually put one here and one here, one over each ear, and then one at the nape of the neck on each side. And then sometimes if I need to crisscross them here so that it'll hold it on. And doing that, they can do flips, turns, theoretically anything, and it not come off.
That's really cool because I have used wigs before. I did a restoration play called She Stoops to Conquer, and I had to wear one of like the powdered wigs or whatever, and that's when I had short hair, and I could barely move because we didn't know exactly how to get it in there correctly. So the way you do it, you can do whatever you want without it falling back or doing, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, one of the advantages to the lace front, because especially a lot of regional theaters don't use lace front because they are more expensive. It's very time consuming and a very expensive craft. So the hard fronts, you would crisscross those pins, but with the lace front, you can also use spirit gum to glue them down. And once this lace is on there, it looks like a complete natural hairline. This is used in a lot of film. We do use it in opera most of the time on principal artists and things like that.
So in opera, why do they use wigs so much in opera? Is it just because they were supposed to be long-haired males and different hairstyles? Is that, or?
Most of the stuff is very time period specific, and so it's easier. Also, natural hair is just so unpredictable, and because it's unpredictable, it's easier to control something that I can style up and it's going to stay in that style from time after time after time. And a lot of quick changes as well. So if I'm going from one time period to the next, from Act 1 to Act 2, it's a quick turnover.
Oh, okay. And like, if the wig gets a little messed up, you can work on it that night or whatever, fix it, and it's ready for the next day rather than having to fix it in between, and all that kind of stuff. So, okay, I can see that. Yeah. That's pretty neat.
Usually most of the time I'm the only hair and makeup artist. Sometimes if it's a large show, they'll have an assistant. But I typically am putting hair and makeup on anywhere from 5 to 12 people, and I only have 2 hours before the show to get those people ready. And so being able to have a wig makes it much easier. They usually come to me already in their pin curls. I can put their wig on, slap their makeup on, and they're out the door.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it takes me at least 15, 20 minutes for basic makeup, just for myself. And for a guy, that's not much, when you're on stage. It's a little bit, but, and then the girls, it's probably 25 to 30 minutes when they're putting their own makeup on. So you have to be pretty quick at that, considering you're doing that many in 2 hours. So yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know that you would be the only person doing that. That's really interesting.
I've done it professionally for about 16 years now, and definitely found lots of quick tricks and corners that I can cut and things like that. And most of the time now I basically work at CPAC. I'm what they consider a local. So a lot of the touring shows that come through. So I don't do a whole lot of makeup in theater right now. I do more of like video shoots and photo albums and things like that. Most of the time I'm able to just do wigs for TPAC.
Okay, great. So how are you able to work at all? Is there anything that you've been able to do with this right now with this COVID-19 stuff, or is it?
A lot of wig building, because this is what I do at home. And typically to build a wig, it takes anywhere from, I'm a very, they call it ventilating, and I'm a very fast ventilator. And so I can usually get one of these small fronts done anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. So I can get one done in a day. But typically it would take anywhere from a week to 6 weeks to get a wig done. And right now I'm actually working on a wig for a cancer patient, and I am very fortunate to get lots of donations for that. And so I take anybody's hair and I can put it into a wig, and that's what I do with most of the donations. But as far as like being in the theater, all of that is closed right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is. Well, hopefully you'll get some work lined up with theaters too as well once we start being able to open back up. The behind the scenes people like you and stuff like that, it's hit really hard because we're mine's a little different, but if I wasn't with the city, I would be a gig worker, a contract worker, and so it's hit everybody really hard. So I'm glad you could kind of come on and show us a little bit about it and show us what you do, and hopefully you get back to it soon. So thanks for joining us, Maggie. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that was very informative. Hopefully if you're in theater and you want to use wigs in your next production, once we get out of this COVID-19 situation, that'll help you get started. Or if not, contact Maggie, see what she can do to help you. All right, guys, have a good evening.